Hi, I'm your host, Rae Irelan, and you are listening to the Soul Aligned podcast, where we help high achieving leaders and driven visionaries do what you love and live your purpose. So, welcome to episode 13, where we're going to be talking about healing with art. So, one of the most natural and successful ways to heal based off of science and history comes down to using art. Now, like, what kind of healing am I talking about? I'm really talking about all the forms of healing: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual healing, you name it. So it comes down to energy, and energy is what creates. Humans, we create art. That's kind of the cycle that we go through. And so now someone can maybe say, like, oh, something more like fine art, like this painting behind us, or maybe it's actually art like a structure, like a building. So our whole world is created off of art. And so we're utilizing our energy. So it's what we do, whether we want to take responsibility for what we're creating or not. Like, why wouldn't all humans want to take responsibility for their limitless creativity? There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the biggest ones is that if we were to take 100% responsibility, it would also mean that we would need to let go of always being right, let go of any resentments or blame. We would have to take full responsibility of not only having created all the good, positive stuff that we see in the world, but also creating the more negative or quote unquote bad things that we see in the world. So that is a lot to ask for people or humans or even yourself to take 100% responsibility for what has been created. Most people are going to wait until they're on their deathbed to really get to that place of ownership, or some not even then. But the question that I kind of want to pose for anyone that's watching this is, like, do we need to wait so long to take responsibility? And has that been working out so far? The world is desperate for a change. We see this everywhere. There's this new, wave and craze of personal development and healing. And there's also this interesting thing of, like, wanting to develop globally and come into a more harmonious state of peace globally. So how do we do that? It really starts with coming back down to the I and taking responsibility for your own personal development, your own healing, and then you can go and see change outside of the world. It's the same thing when you think about countries going to war, and maybe you're watching it from an outsider's perspective, or even on the inside, and being like, why are we doing this? Why can't everyone just get along? And yet, can you sit down at your family table and get along with those familiar faces that are right around you? More often than not, the answer is no. There's usually these resentments, these blames, these old stories and old relationship dynamics that are in place and have overpowered our individual ability to take responsibility. And it's not that they've truly taken over, because we do have the choice to change it. And this is the opportunity that we are presented with today. And we have so many resources, so many tools used and out there to be able to do this sort of healing. So, I learned this lesson about really needing to come back to the I while traveling and touring all around the world. I went to many different countries. I went to some countries that were in war with each other, and I got to hear and talk to many people and hear their stories of what perspective they were on. And at the end of the night, at the end of every conversation, it always came down to what was happening on the very individual personal level. And being able to find and create peace within was actually just as challenging as finding or creating peace within the different communities or countries or organizations, you name it. So I grew up as a dancer, and I remember many times thinking that, I probably would have, like, killed myself if it weren't for dance, or I would have had such a harder time if it wasn't for dance. And as I began to go deeper into consciously healing myself and going on this healing journey, my music actually simultaneously began to grow as well. So it was interesting. It started off with dance, and then turned into music that I really got to watch progress while I was progressing in my own healing. And I began to see how interwoven the arts and healing were. So shamans and ancient traditions use music, dance, art, and medicine all together for a reason. They coexist. In the West, we have done a lot of work to separate them, and we no longer work as holistically, sustainably, or bottom line, effectively as they could be if they were to really come together. And so the cool thing is we're seeing things change and shift because people are catching on to this. So, there is music that is coming into nursing homes. There is these movements of there's more popularity in being able to use dance and movement therapies. Art therapy is coming into schools. So there's a lot of hope that we can have to continue to watch this progress. So I think it's just important to inform ourselves and each other of what's happening, what's working, really. It comes down to storytelling, which is another art form in itself. So music, art, movement therapy, they're flooding the marketplace because people are really wanting to heal. They're desiring to have that inner healing for a deeper connection and to see the world transform. And really, first and foremost, see their lives transform as well. So they don't want to just sit down and talk to someone anymore. They want to see their life transform in a way that happens from their daily life, not just they go to a place and it's different and it feels better, but how can their real life situation actually shift? So this is what I get to watch with my clients every day, is miracle after miracle, while using these different arts and modalities to be able to catapult healing in transformation in the daily life, in your personal life, in your relationships, in your spirituality, your connection to something greater, and also in your business, in your finances. So there's 3 therapies that I really wanted to break down, and those are music, art, and dance therapy. And so what we can learn from them is it's just so beautiful because they really hit but all the mind, body, and spirit as well, because you get to physicalize this expression. A lot of times our expression has been contained, it's been held in. We were told as little boys and girls, not to cry or don't scream. If you're angry, just shut up. If you need to say something bad, then don't say anything at all. These ideas and these beliefs kept coming in, and we kept hearing them from people that we really trusted, our parents, our mentors, our teachers. And so we believed, okay, this is the best way to do things, is to just zip it, not express, don't share what is actually happening, for judgment or, so many different reasons. And so when you're using music, art, and dance therapy, you are tapping into some of these emotions that might have been actually subconsciously running your entire life without you knowing it, and you're able to give them a voice, because that's what they really want. It's like these things in the closet, and they're just trying to be seen, but we're so scared to even put a light on in there. So we don't want to see them. And so they're just going to keep hanging out. And so when we experience these therapies, you can do them individually. There's so many books, there's so many resources, just like this show and podcast. There's tons of information online that you can find to go through this journey alone. And yet I've really found that the best way to use art as healing is to do it with other people, whether that's one other person, maybe that's someone that's guiding you, or someone that's side by side with you, or to do it with a group of people. Maybe you're in a program. When you have other people going through these healing modalities and these arts with you, you get to see new perspectives. We're so caught up in our own perspective of what works and what doesn't work, what we've been told to do and not to do. And so, of course, when we start expressing it through any type of art, we're still going to hold on to those guidelines. So we're still going to be coloring in those same lines. The cool thing is when you're doing it with other people, you might notice that other people were told slightly different things. So all of a sudden, their guidelines look a little bit different. And it opens up the possibility that there might be actually another way to do this, and maybe even a way that is more aligned with you. So I highly suggest anyone that is trying to do some deeper healing with art, with any art form, to do it with someone else. Have someone be there with you. Another reason is a lot of times it can be very intense when you are opening yourself up into expressing and using art to do so. Things might come up, things might surface that you would have never thought of, old memories that you've forgotten about, feelings that you just didn't want to feel because they feel ungrounded or unsafe. When you have someone there, they can also help hold the space for you to not have to run away from those feelings that are coming up, those emotions that are coming up, but they can actually support you in staying with it. So that way you can discover really what is at the end of this tunnel. If I keep going down this road of what feels icky and scary and terrifying, at the end, there's going to be a turnaround where you'll be able to see and notice that there's a specific lesson for you to extract, to bring into your life, and to inspire others with from just you embodying this lesson. So it's so, so powerful. And I've seen clients transform. A lot of clients come to me and they're kind of closet creatives. And they say, Rae, I love your music. I love your dance. I love your art. I'm not anything like that, but I want to learn what you're doing. And so we dive in, and what we usually find is that at some point there was some authority figure that told them that it wasn't acceptable to be doing their art anymore, or that they weren't good enough, or that they shouldn't waste their time, that it was a stupid decision. And so or maybe it was something more external too. The parents didn't have any money to continue paying for classes. And so discouraging that student or the child to continue exploring their creativity. So I see this happen over and over again. And a lot of times it's terrifying to pick up the pen and do that first drawing, to open up the voice and sing that first note, to move the body and stretch out the arms. And so it can be so terrifying, and yet the reward is so great. And so that's what I always ask the clients that I'm working with is, what is your why? What are you trying to resolve here? What are you trying to go after here? And if your reason is bigger than the fear, then you can go through the fear and you'll make it through. And on the other side, it's like opening a can of worms. There's all the feelings, there's all the emotions, there's all the stories that come out. And by actually looking at them, you do the healing. And then it's the can of worms of the excitement that happens because you start to create from this soulful place where there's not the mental games of, is this right? Is this wrong? Does this look good? Does it sound good? I'm not good enough. Take that out of your mind and allow the process to just work through you in creating this safe space for you to actually do the healing. So as I'm sharing, there might be one that is really sticking out to you. Maybe you want to try writing or dancing or singing or acting, whatever that creative pursuit is. I invite you to try it out. challenge yourself and see what is possible if you really do just go for it and give yourself that time to play. I believe we are all creatives and artists, and it's time for us to come together to create the most epic art that this planet has ever seen. And that piece of art, first and foremost, is the most exquisite version of yourself as a human. We are our own body of art. So as you get to do that personal healing, the development, you are creating yourself into the most beautiful, magnificent piece of artwork. And then from there, everything that you touch, everything that you speak, everything that you write is just an unfolding of your expression. So I just challenge anyone that's watching this, to really try it out this week and maybe do something that feels a little bit uncomfortable. So if it feels easy to just pick up a pen and write, what about a paintbrush? What would come out from there? And just dive in and have fun while you're doing it as well. So thank you so much for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. And if you want to check out more videos, go ahead and tap the screen right there. I'll see you next time.